History books will tell you that in February 1946, 6 white men were found dead along a 3-mile stretch of road between Harlem and the Bronx. The official police report said, gang violence, case closed within 48 hours, no investigation, no suspects, no justice. But here's what history books won't tell you. Here's what Harlem whispered. Here's what the NYPD buried in a file marked, "Do not pursue." Those 6 men didn't die from bullets, didn't die from knives, didn't die quick. They died the exact same way they'd killed another man 3 days earlier, dragged behind a pickup truck for 3 miles while still alive. Every witness who watched that truck roll past their building heard the same sounds: screaming, begging, bones scraping asphalt, and one voice, calm, cold, steady. "He saved my life. You took his, now I'm taking yours." That voice belonged to Bumpy Johnson, and what happened next didn't just kill 6 men. It sent a message so brutal that for the next 20 years, not a single white gang operated in Harlem. Not one. Because they remembered the pickup truck, they remembered the 6 ropes, they remembered the 3-mile blood trail. Tonight, on Bumpy Johnson Devoting Dark History, I'm telling you the story Harlem never forgot. Before we go any further, let me say this clearly. There's no official historical record proving this story happened exactly the way Harlem tells it. But in New York, especially Harlem, some stories don't live in books. They live in basements, barbershops, corner stoops, old men sitting outside liquor stores at sunset. And this story, this one was whispered for decades, because sometimes what the streets remember matters more than what the paperwork says. Police reports called it gang violence. 6 unidentified men, cause of death, severe trauma, no suspects, case closed. But Harlem said something else happened. Harlem said someone made an example. Harlem said someone crossed a line so deep that Bumpy Johnson, the most powerful black gangster in New York, decided death wasn't enough. Harlem said this wasn't revenge, this was message. But to understand that night, you first need to understand 2 men. The first was Bumpy Johnson, and the second was the only man he ever called brother. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson wasn't just a gangster, he was a businessman, a politician, a protector, and depending on who you asked, a criminal or a king. Born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1905, Bumpy grew up watching black men beaten, robbed, humiliated, and murdered with no consequences. By the time he reached Harlem in the 1930s, he'd already decided something. If the law wasn't going to protect black people, someone else would. By the 1940s, Bumpy controlled gambling, rackets, and numbers operations across Harlem, but more importantly, he controlled respect. White mobs didn't walk into Harlem and do whatever they wanted anymore. Police didn't move without thinking twice, and anyone who crossed Bumpy's people learned something fast. Harlem wasn't weak anymore. But despite all the money, despite all the power, there was something Bumpy never had: a brother, until he met Willie Jackson. According to Harlem legend, Willie Jackson was born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1918, raised picking cotton, raised hearing words no child should ever hear, raised learning early that being black in America meant fighting just to breathe. By 1941, Willie was 23 years old, working as a dock worker in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Long hours, $3 a week, breaking his back for men who wouldn't even look him in the eye. Then one night, behind the warehouses, 5 white dock workers cornered him. "You're taking work that belongs to white men," one of them said, pulling a knife. "We're going to teach you your place." Willie fought back. 6'2", 200 pounds, years of hard labor in his muscles. He dropped 2 of them before the other 3 pulled knives. That's when a man walking past stopped. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. He didn't know Willie, didn't owe him anything. But he saw 5 white men with knives surrounding one black dock worker, and Bumpy Johnson had rules about that kind of thing. He pulled his .45 and fired 2 shots into the air. "This man works for me now," he said. "You got a problem with that?" The 5 men took one look at Bumpy's face and chose life over pride. They ran. Willie stood there breathing hard, bleeding from his arm. "I don't work for you," Willie said. "You do now," Bumpy replied, "because those 5 are coming back tomorrow with 10 more. Your choices are simple. Work for me and live, or stay here and die." Willie thought about it for 3 seconds. What kind of work? The kind where men like them never touch you again. Willie had heard promises his whole life, from bosses who didn't pay, from cops who beat him anyway, from a country that said all men were equal while treating him like dirt. But something in Bumpy's voice was different. "When do I start?" Tomorrow, Small's Paradise, 6 p.m. And, just like that, William Jackson walked into Bumpy Johnson's life. In December 1941, Pearl Harbor happened. America went to war. By March 1942, Willie received his draft notice. Bumpy could have gotten him out, had the connections, had the money, but Willie didn't want out. "I want to fight," Willie said. "I want to prove I'm as good as any white man. I want to come back with medals on my chest so nobody can ever say I'm less than human." Bumpy understood that. "Then you go," he said. "And when you come back, you've got a job, my personal protection. Why would you do that for me?" "Because America doesn't deserve men like you, but Harlem does." Willie shipped out in April 1942, assigned to the 92nd Infantry Division, the Buffalo Soldiers, an all-black unit led by white officers who made it clear black soldiers were expendable. Italy, March 1944, the Gothic Line. According to Harlem legend, Willie's company was pinned down by German machine gun fire. 7 wounded, no cover, the white commanding officer dead. Willie was just a corporal, but there were no orders left to follow. So he made a decision. He grabbed a Browning automatic rifle and charged straight at the machine gun nest, bullets tearing the air around him. He flanked left, used a destroyed wall for cover, came up from the side. 4 German soldiers. 1 MG-42. Willie killed all 4, 3 with the rifle, 1 with his bare hands when the rifle jammed. He saved 17 American lives. They gave him the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, a handshake from a white general who still wouldn't let him eat in the same mess hall. Willie came home in November 1945, uniform crisp, medals on his chest, expecting America to finally see him as equal. Instead, a white woman screamed when he sat next to her on a bus. The driver threw him off. A restaurant in Midtown refused to serve him. "We don't serve colored." 3 cops beat him in Times Square for looking at a white woman wrong. By December, Willie was sleeping in an alley behind Small's Paradise, his Bronze Star still pinned to his jacket, trying not to freeze. That's where Bumpy found him. December 15th, 1945, 11:30 p.m. Bumpy was leaving Small's when he saw a figure in the alley. Army jacket, medals glinting in the streetlight. Willie Jackson? Willie woke fast. Soldier instincts, then saw who it was. Mr. Johnson. "The hell you doing sleeping in an alley?" Willie's face hardened. Got nowhere else to go. "Came home to the same America I left, just with more scars." Bumpy pulled out his wallet, counted out $300. "Mrs. Patterson's boarding house on 139th Street. That'll cover 3 months. Tomorrow you come find me. 6 p.m. You're my bodyguard." Willie stared at the money. "Why?" "Because I made you a promise in 1942. My word means something, even if America's doesn't." For the next 3 months, Willie worked as Bumpy's bodyguard. And according to Harlem legend, in those 3 months, Willie saved Bumpy's life 3 times. Once from poison at Small's Paradise, once from a sniper across the street, and the 3rd time, the one that mattered most. It was 11:45 p.m. Bumpy was leaving Small's through the back entrance, heading to his Cadillac. Willie was 10 feet behind him, always scanning, always watching. He saw movement in the shadows. 2 men, guns rising. No time to shout, no time to draw, only time to move. Willie lunged forward, grabbed Bumpy's shoulder, yanked him sideways. The first shot hit Willie in the shoulder, the same shoulder that had taken shrapnel in Italy. He didn't go down, drew his .45, fired 3 times. The shooters ran, then the adrenaline faded, and Willie collapsed. Bumpy caught him. "Stay with me, Willie." Willie smiled through blood. 3 times, boss, that's 3. They got him to a doctor. Bullet removed, wound stitched. By 2 a.m., Willie was stable. Bumpy sat beside the bed. 3 times, Bumpy said quietly. 3 times you saved me. That's the job, boss. No, Bumpy said. That's something else. Willie, half drugged on morphine, got honest. "You remember what you said to me in Red Hook?" "I said a lot of things. You said nobody would ever put their hands on me again long as I was with you." He paused. "Nobody ever said that to me before. You saw a dock worker getting jumped and didn't see trash. You saw a brother. That's why I take bullets for you. Because you're the only man who ever made me feel like I mattered." Bumpy's voice broke. "You matter, Willie." "I know, boss." Those were the last words they ever spoke. 3 hours later, 6 men broke into that doctor's brownstone, all white, all drunk, all angry. According to Harlem legend, one of the shooters from earlier had recognized Willie, found out where he was, and instead of finishing him with a bullet, they decided to make an example. Willie woke to heavy boots, reached for his gun. It wasn't there. 6 men with rope and knives rushed him. He fought, but his shoulder was destroyed. The morphine slowed him. 6 against 1 wounded man isn't a fight. It's an execution. I'm a veteran, Willie begged. I fought for this country. The Gothic line. I saved 17 men. One of them picked up his bronze star from the nightstand, looked at it, then dropped it, stepped on it. You're not a veteran, he said. You're a colored playing soldier. These medals don't mean nothing. They dragged Willie outside, threw him in the back of a pickup truck, tied ropes around his chest. Willie understood what was happening. No, God, no, please. The engine started. Let's see how heroic you are after 3 miles. The truck moved at 4 miles per hour. 3 miles later, they cut the rope. Left what was left of Willie Jackson on 96th Street. At 5:53 a.m., William Big Willie Jackson died in the back of an ambulance. His last words, "Tell Bumpy, I'm sorry, I failed him." He was wrong. Illinois Gordon burst into Small's paradise. "Boss, it's Willie." Time stopped. "They dragged him," Illinois said. 3 miles. Bumpy went to the morgue, pulled back the sheet, and what he saw destroyed something inside him. Willie's body was unrecognizable, but in his pocket, the bronze star, the purple heart, bent, crushed, stepped on. Bumpy stood there for 5 minutes, didn't speak, didn't move. Then he walked out. "Get me names," he said. 6 of them. Danny Morrison's crew from Hell's Kitchen. Bumpy looked at their photos. "Where they at?" "Murphy's Tavern." "Get me a pickup truck," Bumpy said. "Same make as theirs. And get me 15 men. 2 nights later, 3 black Cadillacs rolled down 10th Avenue. Headlights off, silent. They stopped outside Murphy's Tavern. 6 men inside, drinking, laughing, doors locked, guns ready. At least they thought they were ready. Illinois, Gordon smashed the door. Bumpy's men flooded in. 90 seconds later, 6 men on the floor, hands tied, mouths gagged, eyes wide with terror. Bumpy walked in, pulled out Willie's bronze star. "You know what this is?" he said. "This belonged to a man who saved 17 American lives. You dragged him through the streets like an animal. Tonight, you're going to feel every second he felt. They dragged Willie alone. You won't be alone. 6 of you. 6 ropes. 1 truck. They tied all 6 men to the bumper. Same make, same model, same year. Bumpy got in the driver's seat, started the engine. "He saved my life 3 times, Bumpy said, "and you murdered him for being proud. Now I'm taking yours." The truck started moving, 4 miles per hour. Hell's Kitchen to Harlem, 3 miles. 6 bodies dragging behind it, 6 men screaming through gags, flesh scraping asphalt, blood streaking pavement. People watched from windows, from fire escapes, from doorways. Nobody called the police. At 96th Street, the exact spot Willie was left, Bumpy stopped. 6 bodies behind the truck, some dead, some barely alive. Bumpy knelt beside Danny Morrison, held up Willie's bronze star. You feel that? That's what Willie felt. He pinned cards to their bodies. William Big Willie Jackson, bronze star, Purple Heart, 92nd Infantry Division, murdered February 18, 1946. This is Justice Harlem remembers. He placed Willie's bronze star on Danny's chest. Promise kept, brother. Then he drove away. By sunrise, every gang in New York knew. 6 white men dragged to death. Same method, same route, same ending. The NYPD investigation lasted 6 hours. Official report: 6 unidentified white males. Cause of death: severe trauma. No witnesses, no suspects. Case closed. Within a week, Irish gangs pulled out of Harlem. Italian families sent word: Harlem is yours. For the next 20 years, no white gang operated in Harlem, not one, because they remembered the pickup truck. They remembered the 6 ropes. They remembered what happens when you touch Bumpy Johnson's family. Over 2,000 people attended Willie's funeral. Veterans from the 92nd Infantry, Harlem residents who'd never met him, men who understood what he represented. Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. said, William Jackson fought for a country that didn't love him back. He saved American lives. He came home with medals and belief and died in hatred. But William Jackson did not die forgotten. Because when the system failed him completely, someone stood up and said, "Not in my city, not to my brother, not without consequences." Bumpy later stood alone at Willie's grave, placed 3 things on the casket: Willie's bronze star, Willie's purple heart, and a letter. "You saved my life 3 times. I couldn't save yours, but I made sure they paid. Every mile, every second. You came home to a country that didn't deserve you, but you found a family that did. Rest easy, brother." Bumpy, 3 times Willie said, "Not today." This time, Bumpy said it for him.